Welcome back. This is the Q&A of our How ChatGPT Shops Masterclass. So today with me I have Kristina and Malte. Kristina is representing Sweden and Precis as our SEO and AEO director, and Malte is representing Germany and PKI as CMO and CPO PKI. So we usually try to answer all the questions live, but if we can't, then we'll try to record a little bit of a spin-off where we go through the questions. So now we'll try to answer some of the questions we also answered live, but also the pending ones that we didn't have the chance to go through during the webinar. So the first question was, would it damage performance if the feed had a different, more AI-friendly product description to the website product description?
I guess the short answer is no. It's not going to hurt. I mean, there's different. If you look at the paid shopping and the organic shopping, there's a lot less information in the paid results than there is in the organic ones. The organic ones, you have a lot more information in them, and that's what's being pulled out from your feed. So it's not necessarily, I mean, if you don't put anything really weird in there, it's not going to harm your performance. No.
Get it. Okay. What means the feed is ready for AI? What needs to be done?
Yes, I think I answered this a little bit in the webinar as well. It's to do with the fact that it needs to have information in there that can correspond to what people are actually searching for in AI. So like Malte was talking about, with all the fan out and all the additional words that comes into it, what ChatGPT is trying to fill in the gaps and really answer the person's query, and the fact that people searching much more long tail with all sorts of other descriptions in there, that information needs to be within the feed to make it ready for AI, in a sense that we're matching what people are searching for and the fan out queries that are being searched for. So yeah, you just need more information that is formatted in a way that works with AI.
Hey, Malte, on the matcha example, we made this example where Malte was presenting this matcha brand, which was a fake brand that was created, and showed how actually that was listed by AI anyways. And the question is, do you know if the matcha brand, if they published the 3 listicles on their own website or on other website?
Yeah, so in the matcha example, the 3 listicles were published on third-party websites, actually plural. And even if it was their own website, it is still not the website of the matcha brand, right? So it would still not be the own website of the fake brand. So this was done completely with third-party listicles. The same agency, Claneo, also did a second experiment, a follow-up, where they wrote a listicle on their own website about the best SEO agencies in Germany, of course included themselves, but also included a former agency that no longer exists. And also this agency is now showing up again in LLM answers. So this can work with third-party listicles or with your own listicles. But as always with listicles, a word of caution: this is working too well at the moment and is too easy to abuse. And usually this doesn't last in SEO.
Makes sense. And this is maybe for Kristina. Do you have any insight, approach for business to sell regulated products, for example, pharma, medical, that cannot participate in Google Shopping?
Yeah, if you can't participate in Google Shopping at all, the process that Malte went through in the presentation in the masterclass, where queries goes both into looking at the normal search results as well as Google Shopping, that part obviously isn't there. So what we're looking at then is we need to optimize for that bit, which is the organic results. And if you're doing really good SEO, if you have a really good foundation in organic search and have visibility as it is, and your website is optimized to have all the content structured in a way that it works really well for AI, then, that's where you need to start. And we also talked a little bit about, for regulated industries, expertise, experience, authority, trustworthiness. Those EEAT factors are a really important part of what you need to focus on. And if we're talking really detailed now with like tactics, making sure you have authors on your website or other like things that shows you credibility on your website, like little things like that can go a long way for some. So that's where I would start looking, I guess.
Makes sense. This is more for Malte, is how could I track the visibility of my product or brand within ChatGPT product carousels right now?
For example, in PKI, we actually launched it today for general availability. We have a feature where whenever we see a shopping carousel or shopping table, We extract the products, do some deduplication, allow customers to also upload their own product catalog, and then can show brand and product visibility within these carousels and tables.
Good.
It's really cool.
What kind of resources a brand need to have to be able to optimize for ChatGPT shopping or like, I guess, product carousels in general?
That's a really interesting question, actually, because this is an area within, AO or GEO, whatever you want to call it, optimizing for the future of AI search, where the lines are a little bit blurred, I guess, between what traditionally sits within SEO or if it sits within paid media. Because obviously people sat with your feed right now and optimizing that has always done that from a paid point of view. And the organic's kind of been in a side note. But now we need to look at the supplementary feed, the opportunity to show up organically and in the free listings is really where that's the priority right now. So all of a sudden, it's the people with SEO eyes that need to be looking at what's happening. So should this, in terms of resources, sit within SEO or then AO or GEO for people to optimize? Yes, we need people with that experience to sit with this. So it's a collaboration between paid and SEO here, which is nice because I think in a lot of businesses still these work really siloed. So this is a perfect opportunity to have that excuse to come together, I guess, and looking at paid and organic in a bit more holistic way. But yeah, I think internally it can be difficult to maybe find resources right now in general to optimize for AI and agentic commerce and everything, the direction that we're going, because it's difficult to know where that responsibility sits. Because it is a combination, like I said, of different skills. The organic eyes you need on everything. You need to think about your business as creating visibility online and build brand presence and brand awareness as a whole. And you need a lot of different resources to come together as one. And I think that's one thing that we work a lot with at Precis, obviously, with our brands, is helping them to how do we organize ourselves to find the right resources to put together into something that will actually work to drive the focus on visibility and AI forward.
Makes sense. I think this, Malte, maybe for you, how much real impact do you see from making a site technically readable and accessible to AI agents and crawlers? And how would you prioritize that kind of infrastructure work against more traditional GEO efforts right now? So how important is to make sure that your website is readable and accessible?
Yeah, so putting aside the traditional part for a very, very new marketing channel, it is the absolute foundation. Yeah, so your website must be accessible to AI crawlers, meaning they shouldn't be blocked by your bot protection, your scaper protection, your CDN, any kind of security rules. And the content that you're serving must be accessible to bots that do not render JavaScript. So it must be in the initial DOM that you are serving. And beyond that, there are, of course, a ton of optimizations you can do, but all of these are in the it depends stage, meaning for some websites, they're important, for other not. For some websites, it's then more important to work on your content optimization, maybe even content production. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, but the very, very, very fundamental thing, not blocking the crawlers and making sure they can read the content, that is the absolute bare minimum and has to be done first.
Makes sense. What are the conversion rates in ChatGPT versus Google Shopping? You showed one kind of stat at the end. It is more that you can share.
Yeah, I mean, that stat was like 42%, right, of AI traffic converting better than non-AI traffic. And some studies shows a much higher number. And we've seen it for ourselves where it's actually the opposite and also where it is a lot higher. It varies a lot. And it's difficult right now to say. There are some trends, I guess, in terms of like what industries. Referral traffic from AI is still very low and some much higher. And you can draw conclusions, I guess, when you have a bit larger data sets. But in general, most of the studies that have been coming out recently have shown that the conversion rate is a lot higher when the traffic comes from LLMs. And it's obviously to do with the fact that you're so much more of a qualified person to make a decision, regardless if it's, we're talking B2C here, but like if it's B2B as well, you're so much more primed to make a decision on what you want to purchase or what service you want to use, whatever it is, when you've had that conversation with AI. And you've had this carousel of comparing all sorts of different products, then you know what you want, right? When you're ready to make a purchase. So it's not strained, and that's what's showing up in the data.
The last question is actually connected to what you just mentioned, or like one of the industries that you mentioned, and is how do you think about the relevance of these principles for B2B? Are they roughly the same, even though the behaviors and cycles are different? So first thing I want to say is that we had the first session on B2B, so the link is going to be down here somewhere. But yeah, can you maybe elaborate on if these principles are kind of the same or slightly different?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we went through in the webinar now, we're like optimizing your feed and making sure, that whole bit is sorted. Obviously not relevant for B2B in the same way. I guess the same principles still apply to the fact that we need to look at the data and make decisions of, what places are AI looking for information, what are they, the sites that the citing, and make decisions off of that data, optimize our website, obviously our product pages or like services pages if it's B2B, and making sure that we build out that information for the type of fan out queries that we're seeing and for the long tail things that people are putting into AI. So I guess the general principles are the same for both, how we build visibility and how we optimize our websites. But the feed part of it's obviously for B2C.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Great. Thank you so much, guys, again. And this is then finished with all the Q&As that have been answered now. I hope you found it insightful.